While visiting Wyoming, 35-year-old Don Kemp vanished. His Chevy Blazer was located on Interstate 80 in Wyoming on November 16, 1982. Clothes were scattered across the highway. The car doors were open, the motor was running, and the radio was blaring. But Don was absent. 3 days after Don was reported missing, a blizzard hit the area, leading Sheriff C.W. Ogburn to conclude that Don had perished in the storm. Don's mother, Mary Kemp, didn't believe it. Mary's research into Don's disappearance yielded unsettling evidence. As a result, she believes he was abducted. Mary described Don as an intelligent and charming young man. Don was from Baltimore, Maryland. He earned a history and English double major from Lehigh University in Pennsylvania. After moving to New York City, he became an advertising executive. His blossoming career was halted by a traffic accident that severely handicapped him. He recovered over the course of 3 years, but never returned to his advertising job. Kathy, his sister, said Don got fed up with consumerism. She thinks Wyoming attracted him because he wanted an easier, calmer life. Don was a history buff and amateur writer. After being injured, he studied President Abraham Lincoln's assassination. Writing a book on the assassination and his theory was his goal. Don also saw himself as a prophet, God's messenger, and leader of men. He told associates he planned to gather the masses and form a cult in Upper Wyoming. His mother said he was extremely religious, and numerous religious references were in his diary. Don scheduled a 2-month vacation from Maryland to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, to write his book in the fall of 1982. After selling practically everything, he bought a Chevy Blazer and walked away from his fiancée. His long westward trek on the Lincoln Heritage Trail began on September 6th. Phone calls and postcards kept Don in touch with loved ones. Mary thought he sounded unusual when she last spoke to him. He last called his family on November 15. He visited a Cheyenne Western museum that day. He walked through the exhibits for 2 hours without conversing with anyone. Don lost his attaché case with traveler's checks, diaries, and driving glasses when he departed. The museum told Don's sister that Don called to inquire about his missing items and said he would return to the museum to retrieve them. However, he never collected anything. He refueled in Laramie, Wyoming, later that day. He was last seen at Laramie's Abraham Lincoln Memorial Monument on Interstate 80. The next morning, November 16th, 2 highway patrolmen located Don's automobile on an off-ramp north of Interstate 80, near the Wagon Hound Rest area around 10 a.m. The SUV had been there since 7:30 a.m. The car was 40 miles from town. The engine was running, the radio was on, the doors were open, and goods were tossed onto the road. Police assumed Don was alone in the car because it could only fit one person due to being full of camping gear, papers, briefcases, and suitcases. A lone set of footsteps on the snow ran from the roadside to the vacant prairie. According to Sheriff Ogburn, Don went missing alone. Mary initially thought Don got lost while meditating. She theorizes now that he was abducted and transported from the region. She noticed a passenger side mirror was shattered, the passenger door gasket was taken off, and his car key was bent. She doubts he would leave his car and belongings. Sheriff Ogburn believes Don struggled due to mental or health issues. One acquaintance says Don disappeared because he was losing touch with reality. Another close friend said Don called crying and nearly hysterical. In the early days of the search, a plane was sent by Sheriff Ogburn to find Don. Deputy Rod Johnson flew over for 2 hours. He could see miles across the open terrain, but Don was gone. He thinks Don was lost and didn't want to be found. He feels Don would have heard the plane and gone up a ridge to get their attention. Later that day, Deputy Johnson and 2 others conducted a ground search. They recovered a duffel bag along one set of footprints, a mile from the roadway. Don's washing soap, clothes, and teapot were in the bag. Mary thinks the bag was planted there. She doesn't think Don left his bag or walked out into the prairie. On the second day of the hunt, snow tracks brought Deputy Johnson to a barn 6 miles from the highway. Inside, only 3 of Don's socks and a mound of wood piled like a fire were visible. Snowdrifts surrounded the barn. No tracks left the barn. Deputy Johnson saw in the tracks that someone turned around and stepped backward in their same tracks to hide the fact that they had gone into the barn. He thinks Don hid from the people looking. 3 days after Don vanished, a blizzard halted the search. Most searchers thought Don was killed in the storm. Mary thought the police search was insufficient. She noted that they did not make casts of the footprints or fingerprint Don's car. Mary alleges a sheriff's deputy told her the footprints were made by a Colorado hiker. Don didn't have hiking boots, according to Mary. Mary was advised by a farmer to return Don's car to its discovery location. The farmer feared aliens abducted Don and mutilated his cattle. The farmer stated the aliens would return Don if Mary returned his automobile. Mary did not believe this theory. Mary worked for psychics during her search for Don. 2 said Don was still alive. The other 2 said Don was dead. On October 4, 1985, hunters found Don's skeleton remains in dense sage near Willow Springs Dam, 4 miles from where his abandoned automobile had been. His wallet with his driver's license and Social Security card was found with his body. An autopsy found no struggle or foul play. Sheriff Ogburn thinks Don perished from weather and hid from searchers. He thinks Don knew he was in trouble on the 2nd or 3rd day and tried to get back to his automobile, but failed. Mary was plagued by unresolved questions. 5 months after Don was reported dead in the blizzard, he was seen twice 150 miles away in Casper, Wyoming, in April 1983. He visited a Lincoln memorabilia touring exhibit. Mary spoke to a tavern bartender who remembered serving Don. Even more bizarre, Judy, Don's co-worker and one of his closest friends in New York, arrived home from a vacation in Europe to find 6 phone messages from Don on her answering machine. She didn't know he was missing. The calls were recorded February 27th, April 5th, and April 10th, 1983. Interestingly, Judy's phone number was unlisted, so whoever left the messages knew the phone number. The caller never revealed his name, but she knows it was Don. He said, "I must talk to you," and supplied a phone number. When Judy called the number back, a man answered. Judy asked whether Don was available to talk. The man exclaimed, "Yes," then quickly said, "No," saying Don was out and would call her back. Nobody phoned her back. She believes the man knows what happened to Don. Mary learned about the calls from Judy. Mary notified authorities. The calls came from a Casper trailer, according to phone records. Mark Dennis rented the trailer. He says someone used his phone without his consent, or the phone company made a mistake. Dennis told Natrona County Sheriff's Department, Captain Mark Benton, he didn't make the calls and has no knowledge of them. Benton showed Dennis a photo of Don. Dennis claimed he had never met Don and had no idea where he was. He also agreed to a polygraph. Mary tried numerous times to contact Dennis. She waited on his porch, but he never came. She spoke to him once by phone. He denied knowing Don. She informed him he lied and he knew Don's fate. He hung up. After hiring counsel, he refused to discuss the case. Dennis left Casper and the trailer 3 weeks after being questioned. Mary later saw a photo of Dennis and noted a striking similarity to Don. She wonders if Don lost his life because he was mistaken for Dennis. Sheriff Ogburn believes Don died in the blizzard, but he cannot explain the calls. Don experienced something amid Wyoming's huge plains. What happened may always be a mystery. What do you think happened to Don Kemp? Did he venture out on his own and perish in the blizzard? Was he taken to Casper by Mark Dennis and later killed? Did someone else mistake Don for Mark and kill him? Was he abducted by aliens? Let us know your theory in the comments below. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching.